All right, guys, so we got to talk about another unfortunate story on this Christmas Eve. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a bearer of bad news, okay? I just feel like I'm a bearer of bad news, but this is kind of the nature of our society today, right? Because we've lost all common sense, okay? And this story right here, I think is a example of our society not really adhering to common sense, especially during this pandemic, right? Especially during this pandemic. As there's a story about a team of paramedics and firefighters who refused to go into an acute care facility to treat and retrieve a patient who was experiencing cardiac arrest over some obscure COVID-19 rules that apparently they thought was in place in California that prevented them from going into the facility. So without further ado, I'm going to play this news clip from Inside Edition on this so that you guys get a thorough explanation of what happened. Take a look.
COVID rules lead to the death of a resident of a care facility. The patient wasn't breathing, and nurses at the facility called paramedics who allegedly said they couldn't help until the man was brought outside. Here's Jim Murray.
A 56-year-old man is stricken with a heart attack, but paramedics refused to enter the acute care facility where he was taken ill. The reason? Fear of COVID.
Let's see what's happening.
Police body cam video shows a take-charge cop going into the facility in California while the paramedics remain outside.
They're not going to come in. They're saying it's a state law that they can't come in.
The paramedics allegedly insisted the 56-year-old patient be brought out to them.
It's a cardiac arrest. We're doing compression. We cannot move him while we're doing compression.
The police officer had to push the bed, which has no wheels, down the corridor while nurses continued performing CPR.
Someone get up there to help her steer it, and I can push it.
Only when the man was brought outside did the fire department paramedics start treatment. The police officer's report on the incident says nurses were distraught and pleading for help. Fire personnel insisted on the patient being brought to them outside before they began life-saving efforts and made no effort to assist me, he wrote. Sadly, the 56-year-old man died.
It happened at this acute care facility in the city of Rialto, about 50 miles from Los Angeles. There is no state law preventing paramedics from entering the nursing home, but there was an outdated memo circulated more than a year ago during the height of the pandemic advising paramedics to minimize their risk of exposure to COVID. What is your reaction to the fact that the paramedics wouldn't go inside the facility?
I frankly was appalled. It's just horrific to think that your last moments to help you needed might not be there. Our officer frankly deserves a medal for going in and getting the patient out.
They're not going to come in.
The paramedics who were involved have been placed on leave pending an outside investigation.
Guys, can you believe that 20 years ago, we used to live in a country where paramedics, firefighters, first responders were not afraid to go into smoking towers that were on fire, that were about to collapse after being hit by planes? Can you believe that, right? Can you believe that we used to live in a country where these first responders, at a drop of a dime, would risk their lives to save and help their fellow American citizens? Again, even if there's a high risk that they would lose their own life, okay? We used to live in a country like that, apparently, right? And now we live in a country, because of COVID, where you have paramedics and firefighters that allegedly are afraid to go into an acute care facility because of some obscure COVID-19 rule that turns out wasn't actually a rule, as much as it was just some memo saying that, hey, be careful about going into these facilities because, you might catch COVID. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay? In a situation like that, where you have a man that is having a heart attack / going into cardiac arrest, and if any of you guys know about situations like that, every single second counts, right? Every single second can be the difference between life and death, okay? And for whatever reason, only one police officer had enough common sense to say, screw these rules, right? Screw what I think the law is. I have to save somebody. right? I have to do my job. Again, it's amazing to think about just how only one police officer was able to have enough common sense to do that, to say, F it, I'm going. What matters is saving this person's life. Everybody else are like, oh, wait, you guys got to bring them out here, right? You guys got to bring the patient out here before we can do anything because, you know, COVID. We might catch this virus, okay? All these people, they're in California. I'm assuming they're wearing masks. They're vaccinated. But yet they're afraid to enter a facility because of some obscure rule or that they might catch the virus. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Again, this is how far our society has just sunk, man. It's just a damn shame to see something like this. You should never hear a story like this. It's ridiculous. I mean, I thought this was a parody. Okay, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this can't be real. You mean to tell me only one police officer had the cojones, right? And enough common sense to say, F it, I'm going, right? That only one had the cojones. Again, this person had to be carried out, right? The bed that he was on didn't even have any wheels, right? So it took some manpower to actually get this patient out of the facility. Now, who knows, you know, if they could have actually saved him. But again, it's just a shame to think about the fact that, you know, after, you know, these people decided not to go in, this person unfortunately died, right? We shouldn't even be having this discussion. It shouldn't even be a what if situation. Shouldn't be a what if situation. But again, it just goes to show you how backwards our society is going, right? Due to this pandemic, where again, people aren't simply just using common sense. They're afraid of breaking the rules. When, again, these rules, some of them are costing people's lives, i.e. Cuomo and his rules. You guys remember the memo that he sent out to nursing homes, basically implying that they could not refuse COVID-19 patients, right? Just because they had the virus. Okay, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic when not that many people knew anything about the virus. And for whatever reason, he thought it was a good idea to put out this memo that nursing homes interpreted in a way in which, again, they were packing a whole bunch of sickly elderly people into one place, okay? Sickly elderly people with this virus. And just lacking basic common sense, right? Just basic common sense, okay? And that essentially has been the result of this pandemic, the deterioration of common sense in this country, okay? It's almost like we have zero, right? Zero, especially these politicians, okay? The ones that are writing these memos, that are writing these rules, that are making these rules, those are the ones that are lacking the most, okay? And it's really a damn shame. It really is. Mainly because it is costing people their lives and our freedom. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.